Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, September 1st, 2012. We're getting all the way through the summer here, this 2012 year. Heading into fall. Hope it goes smooth and peaceful for us here on planet Earth. A lot of people think 2012 is going to have a bunch of stuff happening. Like December 21st is going to be the end of the world in some people's minds, which clearly it will not be, but who knows what might happen. God knows. I know if you look into all this conspiracy junk, there's a lot of people that have diabolical plans. But plans are one thing. Execution is a whole nother thing. Well, let's read from the Bible again. We're going to be back into Wycliffe, starting Exodus chapter 7. And we're going to read verses 1 through 7. So let's start with that, then we'll start reading about, I'll show you here. We'll look at Mount Sinai. And I thought I'd start reading about John Huss, the Bohemian reformer, who I've just come across his name, but he's mentioned in the same context as Wycliffe and Martin Luther and Tyndale. And so let's learn about him. I don't know anything at this point. So let's start with chapter 7, verse 1 of Exodus, John Wycliffe version of the Bible. And the Lord said to Moses, Lo, I have made thee the God of Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak to Aaron all things which I command to thee, and he shall speak to Pharaoh, that he deliver the sons of Israel from his hand. But I shall make hard his heart, and I shall multiply my signs and miracles in that land of Egypt. And he shall not hear you. And I shall send mine hand on Egypt, and I shall lead out mine host and my people, the sons of Israel, from the land of Egypt by most domes. And Egyptians shall wait that I am the Lord, shall wait that I am the Lord, which have hold forth mine hand on Egypt, and have led out of the mightiest of him the sons of Israel. I think that's led out of the midst of them, the sons of Israel. That's how we'd say it today. And so Moses did, and Aaron, as the Lord commanded, so they did. For so Moses was of 80. Now 80 is 420, so that should be about 80. 80 years, and Aaron was of 80 years and 3, a little bit older. And when they spake unto Pharaoh, and now King James. And the Lord said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a God to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of this land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, my people the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded them. So did they, and Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh. So ends the first reading of today. So far so good. Now let's read about Mr. John Huss, the Bohemian reformer. And if anyone wants to look at this, it's a good website. It's prca.org, and I'm under Books Portraits, and then I've dialed in Huss. While we usually consider Luther's act of nailing his 95 Theses on the chapel door of the Church of Wittenberg to be the beginning of the Reformation, the fact remains that God began the work of Reformation long before the days of Martin Luther. Two men are called pre-reformers by historians, John Wycliffe of England and John Huss of Bohemia. Perhaps to call them pre-reformers really does them no injustice. But they were more than pre-reformers. They were reformers in the truest sense of the word. And perhaps Huss even more than Wycliffe. The Reformation of the Church in the 16th century would have been impossible without them. So Huss and Wycliffe are contemporaries, then. The two men were different. Wycliffe was first of all a scholar, for whom preaching was secondary. Huss was above all a preacher, and scholarly studies were subordinate to preaching. The dusty library was Wycliffe's home. The pulpit was Huss's. Wycliffe labored all his life for reform and left no movement that continued to the Reformation. Huss started a movement of reform that not only lasted to the Reformation, but has come down to the present in almost pure form, primarily in the Moravians. Wycliffe's teachings were almost identical to those of Luther and Calvin. Huss, apparently, was never able to condemn the Roman Catholic corruption of the Lord's Supper. Wycliffe reflected all his life the middle-class gentility of his upbringing. Huss, after the pattern of Luther, was of rough peasant stock. Wycliffe, it seems, did not know what it meant to laugh. Huss could banter and joke with his students even while lecturing. Wycliffe went to the grave in peace. Huss was burned to death on a martyr's pyre, but God used them both. That's an interesting statement, because we learned last time, I don't know how he went to the grave in peace, that may be true, but they strangled Wycliffe after tying him up in a bonfire, and they only strangled him out of a little bit of mercy as opposed to burning him alive. So he went to the grave in peace because they strangled him before they burned him. That's not like going to sleep and not waking up, but here we go. In Luther's famous debate with John Eck at Leipzig, Eck charged Martin Luther with being a Hussite because Luther appealed to the supreme authority of Scripture. Luther was not sure about this, but spent the noon break reading what Huss had written. At the beginning of the afternoon session, he surprised everyone by loudly proclaiming, "Ich bin ein Hussite." I am a Hussite. Just like when JFK was in Germany, "Ich bin ein Berliner." I am a Berliner. That's what he said. "Ich bin ein Hussite." So, there you go. That's a little bit about John Huss. We'll pick up more of that later. That's interesting. I don't know much about Mr. Huss. We'll learn more. Now let's watch a little bit of Revealing God's Treasure, and we'll wrap it up for this time and post it to YouTube, where all these truth seekers go to hopefully learn a little bit more than they already know and discover more about God and the Bible and what's going on in the world and what has gone on in the world for centuries and millennium. Here we go.
We now present the most important material on Earth, the discovery of the Ark of the Covenant and the evidence it holds. Although photographs of this find will not be shown today, we do have the faithful witness of Ron Wyatt, whose credibility was established through the other discoveries we have already seen thus far. The Lord used Mr. Wyatt to find other discoveries, so we can trust his testimony regarding this most important find. In God's appointed time, we will all see this incredible discovery. Here now is Ron Wyatt and the Ark of the Covenant.
I had had an unusual experience. The Lord had helped me find the remains of Noah's Ark. He had helped me find the remains of Egyptian chariot parts and horse parts and people parts in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba. And I had gone to the Middle East with my sons. We had trained as divers, scuba divers, and we were going to get some of those chariot parts out. Well, due to my carelessness, I got sunburned to the point that my legs swelled up, my feet, and all of this, and I couldn't get my diving equipment on.
That will happen, even when you're doing what you consider to be the Lord's work. It doesn't always turn out the way you would like it to, and we all learn that. But God knows, and sometimes God thwarts your efforts, and you find out later that it actually turned out to be what was the best thing for you. And it may be something that really upset you at the time and really made you think no matter what you do, things don't work out and that kind of stuff, and you get really depressed. But sometimes things are still working out for your best interest and God's in control. But when we decide what we think we should do and have our mind set on it, it doesn't always go the way we think. So Ron's a very honest man as far as I can tell, and he'll tell you, oh, I screwed up, or I didn't do it right, or made a mistake. And you know, a lot of people cover that up just out of ego and out of their desire to seem more in control and more perfect than any of us really are. But there he is, Mr. Wyatt. God bless you, sir. He left this earth in '99, I think, from what I understand. That's when he died, and he discovered the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, in '82. So it's amazing how these things can be discovered, and yet the world at large doesn't really know, and the media that's controlled by the power brokers that have all the money and tell all the lies, they don't let it be widely known. They don't necessarily completely suppress it, because that's impossible, but if they're not promoting it, if it's not on CNN and Time Magazine and all this junk that people think is real information, and people don't take it seriously. I mean, even if I go, this is something we're all going to experience as we study the truth. I will go and try and share these messages with other people, and I won't even try and tell them I know it's true, because I don't. Ron Wyatt could be a deceiver and a liar. I don't think he is. I find him credible. I find him genuine and honest. However, I've been deceived before, so I never completely rule it out until I really, really, really know. But you just, you have to keep your filter of discernment in place, shall we say. But the point is, we're all going to experience times where we have a pretty strong indication of what the truth is, and we want to share it with other people. But if their hearts and minds are not ready to receive that information, they won't listen to you, and they won't take you seriously, and oftentimes it's worse than that. They will ridicule you, either in your face or behind your back. They'll make fun of you. They'll be mean, essentially, be uncharitable towards you and your efforts to share with them what you think is good information that would be useful and helpful to them. And yet they reject you and laugh at you and turn their backs on you. And that's how it goes. That's why so many of these reformers were lonely people at times in their lives, because when times get tough and they stick it out and they stand their ground, they find that a lot of their so-called friends have turned and walked in the other direction and left them hanging. I've been there. I've felt that. It ain't fun. But we get through with God's help. Well, that's it. Happy Saturday morning, everybody. I'm going to shut this one down and pick it up next time. Aloha!